Hey guys, Dr. J here. Today we're going to be talking about Prilosec and acid blocking medications. Are they destroying and hurting your kidneys? Should you be on these medications long term? We're going to dive into that topic today. Before we do, please smash that like button. Love to see your comments down below as well. All right, so let's dive in here. A couple things I want to highlight. There are some studies and some data on acid blocking medication, especially Prilosec, and its impact on the kidneys. I'm going to pull up a study here real quick. Couple years old here, but it's worth taking a look at and to see what's going on. So you can see here, this is a study looking at omeprazole use in chronic kidney disease, and the association is significant that omeprazole or Prilosec is associated with essentially kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, and it's showing a high risk among kind of chronic users. And so it's interesting. It's there. This is a medication that people get on very simply, very easily, and they stay on it forever because the medication does provide palliative release. If you have an ulcer, if you have gastritis, and you're making too much acid, it can definitely create relief. Or what if you're making too little acid? Many times I find clinically that patients that have gastritis, that pain, that this area, right? It may mirror image here, but it should be that upper left-hand quadrant. Like, let's get to the sternum, to the slight bit on the left. The right side is going to be your gallbladder, but that middle to left is going to be your gastritis type of area. And if we have low stomach acid, sometimes what happens is we have indigestion. We don't break the food down. When we don't break the food down, that stomach acid provides a stimulation for a compound called gastrin, which is like a hormone, if you will, kind of a hormone like peptide. Gastrin stimulates acid production, but it also helps close the esophagus. So if we don't make enough acid, then we don't make gastrin, and then gastrin doesn't close the esophagus. So then we can have the esophagus open. We can have acids rise up from the stomach and irritate. So a lot of times not having enough acid can create that reflux up. Also, not having enough acid can cause the foods in your stomach to ferment, to rancidify, and then the gases from that also can open up that lower esophageal sphincter. So stomach acid's vitally important. Yes, can we have too much acid? For sure, we could. We could have sensitivity to spicy foods, tomatoes, coffee, things like that, but most of the time I find it's not enough stomach acid. Now, why is this physiologically? First off, when we get stressed, what happens? When we get stressed, we don't make enough acid. Acid is a parasympathetic response. Acid, enzymes, we'll kind of put them in the category of digestive juices. They respond to healthy parasympathetic nervous system function. It makes sense because rest and digest, that's the parasympathetic motto, where the sympathetic is fight or flight. That's the go, run away, fight, essentially for your life. What's happening with blood flow? What's happening with the nervous system output there? When it's sympathetic, blood is going to your extremities. We're mobilizing glucose, so we have fuel to run, fight, and flee. When it's parasympathetic, it's going into the core. It's working on restoration, sleep, recovery, goes to the organs, especially digestion, digestive juices. And it makes sense because we don't want to be working on having our resources going to our digestive system when we're running from a bear or tiger, right? So it makes sense. But the problem is most people today live their day in this fight or flight state, so we have less stomach acid. Now, when we have this chronic cortisol, which is part of that fight or flight, what does cortisol do to your gut lining? It actually can thin it out over time. So chronic cortisol is very catabolic. So it can catabolize or break down your muscles. It can catabolize your gut lining, the enterocytes, right? It can break down that mucus bilayer and those healthy goblet cells in our stomach. So it can really break things down. So that can also make us now more sensitive to acid. It's kind of like you get a sunburn. You go outside the next day. Maybe it's the early morning sun. Just that little bit of sun hits you. You feel that burn. Even though the sun's like not that bad. It's like 8 a.m. But because that skin's sensitive, you feel everything at a much higher threshold. Same thing with acid and having too little or too much and connection to that gastritis. So first off, should we be taking omeprazole if we have an ulcer? Ideally, only acutely. One, if you get on these medications long-term, there's side effects, right? We talked about the kidney issues. What's the mechanism of that? Researchers don't even know. They're just postulating according to the studies if you go through it. But we also know, many studies talking about omeprazole and acid blockers, that it lowers stomach acid, which is really important for ionizing minerals. So what nutrient deficiencies are associated with low stomach acid? Low iron, low ferritin, B12, zinc, magnesium, hypomagnesemia. So these are all minerals that we see low levels on when we have inadequate acids. Plus protein, I mean, that's our muscles right there. Protein, the amino acids are the building blocks for our muscles, plus through the building blocks for a lot of our hormones, because protein tends to have cholesterol with it. So if we're not breaking down healthy proteins, let's say in a steak, we're not getting the cholesterol, which is going to be the backbone of almost all of our steroid-based hormones. So it's very important that we have good digestion. And we know the association with kidney disease. We want to be very careful with that because it's easy to be on a drug. It feels good. It works. But are we getting to the root cause? Are we going to be able to get off it, or are we going to be stuck on it for years? What happens to nutrient deficiencies over time? And now let's say you're not breaking down your protein, you're not breaking down your minerals, you're not breaking down your cholesterol. What happens to your mood? So now maybe you're on an SSRI because your mood's off. And now maybe you have ED because you're not breaking down the building blocks of your male hormones or female hormones. So now you have ED, or you have PMS, or you have premature menopause, right? Perimenopause, or menopause with more symptoms. So now you can see this cascade of symptoms start to magnify, because when you start to have, let's say, roadblocks upstream, right? You have rocks that are interrupting the flow of the water upstream, it's going to manifest with downstream issues in the river. And so that's kind of how conventional medicine is, just looking at what's downstream and just trying to micromanage the symptoms versus go upstream and fix what we see there. So it changes how the symptoms manifest downstream. Hope that makes sense, guys. And I don't want to tell you not to take a medication. Go to your doctor, right? Talk about the root cause issue. Just know that treating acid issues most of the time does not fix the underlying physiological imbalance. Could you have over acid? For sure. Most of the time it's under acid. Things like H. pylori are notorious for actually making an enzyme called urease. That urease takes the urea and converts it to ammonia. Ammonia's got a pH of 11. And so a lot of times H. pylori can be part of this. SIBO can be part of this. Gluten sensitivity, food allergies can be part of it. So it's not just an acid, good or bad. It's you have food allergies, you have H. pylori, you have generalized dysbiosis. When you have low stomach acid, what also is low? Low enzymes, because acids help trigger enzymes, right? Acid, for instance, triggers pepsinogen to pepsin. And it also, a lot of your proteolytic enzymes are pH sensitive. So if you don't have a good, nice low pH, our enzymes are not going to be as active. That nice acidity that's triggered, that gastrin increases, that acidity also, when it goes from your stomach to your small intestine, triggers a neuropeptide called cholecystokinin, CCK, which triggers your gallbladder to contract and release bile, which aids in fat digestion. So you can see, if we don't have our physiology working, there's so many dominoes. Once you remove one domino from that row, then it interrupts the whole digestive chain. And so we really want to be on point with that to make sure we have good, healthy physiological function. So first off, recap, what are the underlying things? So medications, check with your MD, check with your medical doctor, but it's not addressing the underlying issue. So my suggestion is acute palliative relief, but then get to the root underlying causes of why it's there. Chronic stress, high cortisol, H. pylori infection, SIBO, bacterial overgrowth. Now, all of these things can lower stomach acid, can lower enzymes, and can lower bile. And so you may need to supplement that in the meantime while you fix the nervous system, while you cut out the food allergens, while you improve cooking and chew your food up really well. Masticate your food, chew it up well to an oatmeal or white rice consistency. Don't hydrate with food outside of a couple ounces to get pills down. Don't dilute your digestive juices. Water's a pH of 7. Your stomach should be a pH of 2. So if you add a bunch of 7 to 2, what happens to that pH? Starts to go up. And again, pH, it's logarithmic. So a pH of 2 to 3, that's actually 10 times less acidic going from 2 to 3 because it's logarithmic. So 2 to 4 is 100 times less acidic. So you can see it's not like, oh, it's just 1 or 2. No, it's literally, if you go 2 to 4, it's 100x less acidic. Said another way, a 7 pH is 100,000 times more alkaline than acidic. So you can see when you start adding a bunch of water, it can throw off your digestion. So I just want to get you guys thinking about things a little bit more holistically. And we talked about the big 5, the foods, the stress, the nervous system, the cortisol, the adrenal stimulation. We talked about H. pylori or bacterial overgrowth, having not enough stomach acid, needing to add that, having low enzymes, having low bile. All these things can be rectified. So if you want to dive in, if you get a little overwhelmed and you want to look deeper under the hood, look at the food, look at your digestive support, there'll be a link down below where you can reach out to my staff and team. We're happy to help you. We see patients worldwide. So if you want more support on that, feel free and reach out. We're here for you. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Take care. Bye now.